February 5th. With that, Jay Howe, what would you like to see from LFM now? We saw them have first pick before, didn't work out for them. Is this the time for change up? Because they've changed up in the past when the strategy didn't work.
Smaller battleground. I'd like to see them go to a smaller battleground where if they do get behind, they don't necessarily see Team Freedom playing hide and go seek. You know, things like that. Things where you can kind of force a team fight. We already heard from both teams that that is their strength. Everybody recognizes that from LFM. They're evolving in other ways, but I think right now finding a smaller battleground for them to try and find those team fights, I think that'd be a good point for them to start.
How do you feel about Battlefield of Eternity?
I would love it. Do we get it?
We do.
Yeah. Oh, but
Freedom's
it's
choice.
Freedom. It's Freedom. All right. Well, that is getting a little bit of everything today. Both Diablo battlegrounds here.
Ooh, this is interesting.
Maybe they're just willing to test themselves a little bit. I mean, you're up 2-0.
It's still big, right? The lanes are still far apart. If you have strong macro, you can win or get a keep at the first Immortal and do basically irreparable damage. We've seen Freedom be a little more willing to kind of be aggressive in the early game, but in general, yeah, it does feel like this is maybe one of the maps that should be more favored toward LFM. It's also a map that hasn't been picked yet by Freedom. They actually haven't even played on Battlefield of Eternity yet in 2018, so it's a bit of an interesting pick for a lot of different reasons.
You said keep with the first Immortal. Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
Syndragosa, is that what you're thinking?
Oh no, something else that starts with an S. My most played hero, Gilly.
The Butcher.
Sylvanas.
No, she was nerfed.
What do you mean?
She was nerfed in the patch.
What do you mean?
The Shadow Dagger cooldown was increased.
What?
Still
the best hero in the game. I mean, it was by 1 second, and then her level 4 lost soul talent got
right. Cooldown reduction. Doesn't matter.
Long hair don't care.
Doesn't matter. You know what? If you take possession, then you're still... Possession wasn't changed, so there you go.
Okay, look, I actually really like possession on certain battlegrounds. This is one where the extra damage does apply to monsters, namely the Immortal.
Yes.
But I still would pick possession.
Haven't had a single Sylvanas in all of NA HGC so far. There was one curious ban. It's just like... We don't want to have to deal with Sylvanas this game. It was pretty curious. Oh.
Finally taking ATC off the table.
It's Shimada season. Which one will LFM get?
Stancing all over here.
I'm ready.
And that's the big part about this, is that Hanzo provides so much on this battleground. I mean, and we've seen varying builds on this battleground, but if you do go into that scatter arrow build, it has incredible race potential, although I think we've actually seen people kind of stay away from that or have some hybrid on this battleground. But if you have that, then you have Genji on the other side, who, oh, by the way, if you're wondering about the matchups, going into this week, Genji has a 30% win rate versus Hanzo, who's really in charge here.
Hanzo is, in NA, had a 70% win rate by the end, and he had some nerfs, so I'm wondering if that will truly affect his win rate going forward, or if it will be enough. It wasn't his serrated arrows that was changed, though, but the scatter arrow did have some damage reduced. There's a Genji, but gray material.
Still keeping to that gray main style that's worked for them through 2 games, but we now get to see the change-up as the new Tyrael. This is the new updated Tyrael. So take away the ETC, give them material, still have the enabler, still have somebody you can dive right alongside. And that's worked out well for them. I actually would not be surprised if they pick Abathur up on this battleground. It's a little bit more of a niche pick, but if you have a gray main, it's one of the heroes that you can do that with effectively. You don't give up a lot, and you have a much higher upside in terms of how it works.
Zugrug is currently 2-0 with his Tyrael. He's shown some really good Tyrael play. I'm thinking about the Sky Temple game where they were behind. I think they were behind in Gale Force. Had to win off of a boss fight. He bulleted his way onto the point. Never let himself off there. And it takes it away from Genji, but Uther is still up for the Aware. It's been his more played. He's got Genji.
Uther was...
Oh, he's not.
Yeah,
he's
it was
banned.
taken away.
Oh, they'll have to get Rengar
That's the thing,
instead.
is that by giving that up, they potentially gave away Hanzo Uther or Genji Uther. And I think by them knowing they were going to give up whether the Genji or Hanzo, they just banned Uther and were like, all right, well, good luck with the rest of that. We'll take away a big part of the success for both of those heroes.
But LFM, not having Uther, generally the fallback for the Aware is Rhaegar. So they'll still be able to get Rhaegar for the burst heal of Genji. Once he goes in, uses his deflect. So they still have something to be able to help with that, and that's likely why we're seeing the Rhaegar raise in priority, making sure that they could get that before the second bans came in.
I wonder if we saw the Zeratul ban last game. I wonder if that might be or maybe it was the first game.
It was the last game.
Yeah, it was last game. Okay, so I wonder if that might be something. Arthas, obviously a natural known counter towards Greymane. I wonder if that might be something that we see. By the way, Greymane, who has a subpar win rate globally, his best win rate is actually against Anubarak main tanks at 52%, and that is in 25 games. All other tanks is below 50%, some of them much lower, but his most successful counter is the Anubarak.
When you think about it, Anubarak has the spell armor, and he has the spell damage with the cocktails, but going into Worgen form, getting that increased attack damage, and then the Cursed Bullet, too, really chunks through that lower health pool of Anubarak. So it makes sense why you would see that raise for a Greymane, and something for Figgy to think about here. Maybe trying to get another frontliner to help out, keep that Anubarak so he's not the total focus for Team Freedom.
So for LFM, you know, you don't show anything by going Tyrael Greymane. So the diversity that we've seen on the side of Freedom makes it really difficult for LFM to really decide on what could be the most effective or one of the biggest counters. And so Lucio's picked up here, a favorite of Collusion, but Kharazim is another top favorite. And Kharazim is one of the better supports. This is one of his better battlegrounds because the Iron Fist, he can contribute to there. You have the secondary pseudo support in Tyrael. Plus, you have the AoE heals that kind of help you deal with a lot there. I would not be surprised if we get a Kharazim right out of the gates, or they might just sit on it for the last pick. They have a lot of flexibility with how they pick these last few.
And Collusion's undefeated with his Kharazim 4-0, which has been awesome to see since it is a newer pickup for Collusion. So maybe a Kharazim here. Also, probably a Yoda hero, whether we see the Greymane Abathur again, or we see Yoda go back to Li Ming, have the poke, the potential double reset if you see go for the throat for Greymane. Tychus if they want to have more of the strong backliner that they don't really have to worry about too much. Yeah. It's Abathur Kharazim again.
Before this draft started, I'm like, you know what? I would not be surprised if they go Abathur. I think this is the one map they can get away with it, and they go right into that. And when I talk about the potential of what do you ban that could have the highest upside, Abathur gives you a higher upside in terms of what you can pull off on this battleground. And they went with Lucio, which is a safe and effective ban, but it gives Kharazim. So if you're weighing risk versus reward, I would have much rather have seen an Abathur ban as opposed to a Lucio ban, because you're getting Lucio or Kharazim no matter what. And so the fact that they end up with Abathur Kharazim, I'm not surprised at all for LFM.
I wouldn't be surprised if Team Freedom finishes that draft with another Malthael. They already used the Malthael Abathur composition really well. They have Kharazim to dive along with. There's no Divine Shield, but there's a Sanctification this time from Zughrug. It's just, LFM hasn't played Malthael yet. Maybe you would want to have that to enable the Genji, but then that leaves you pretty squishy. You've got a couple of different targets you want to have the Ancestral, and plus if you get Malthael, Touch of Death is going to wreck through an Ancestral. But it's time! We finally get a Blaze!
The one thing I really like about that is we get Cassia. Cassia can give you those blinds against a heavy auto attack team in Greymane and Kharazim. You know, if they want to put Nasmus on Abathur and put Yoda on Li Ming or some type of, I guess, anything around that, that'd be good. You know, you kind of, the Cocoon isn't that big of a deal, but they end up with the Malthael. So, you know, it fits into what they know. More than okay with that. You do have the Cocoon, so it'll be up to Tyrael to make sure he gets Sanctification down before the Cocoon comes out, because you will get Tormented Souls cocooned in a lot of those situations. So if they're going to execute this, which I fully believe they're going to be more than capable of, it's going to require that ultimate coordination and communication to pull this off. and it is BOE, so the difficulty a little bit higher.
Cocoon is less of a problem post 13, though. Once inevitable end is possible for Malthael. And then 16 will be able to help a lot too with Cleansing Touch. But that is something to keep in mind both for Zugrug and for Nasmus with Sanctification and the Tormented Souls. Other side, though, it's our first Blaze that we get to see in North America, so super excited about that. A lot of bunker drop play in Europe. You think it'll be the same here, or you think we're going to have Combustion?
Tormented Souls, just hide. Just bunker down. And that's one way to do it. It's like, oh, that's nice. That's a really good AoE ability, but what if I just don't take that damage?
And then douse you in fire.
Yes.
Let's see it. Let's go. LFM hoping with Blaze they can get their first win in the series over Team Freedom.
I'm excited. I've been waiting. I see Alex, the Pro G, just play Blaze all day for 2 weeks in a row.
It was almost in every game of Europe earlier.
It's not too bad, but Team Freedom with the unique Abathur pickup, we'll keep an eye on things as well with the new and refined Tyrael.
So they're in Europe, pretty much every level 1 talent except New Habits. Here is the one that we see the most, though, Neural Stim Pack, giving mana and then the cooldown reduction, or recharging faster for 5 seconds. Make sure that he has all of those oil spills for more control, jet propulsion up a lot more for charges. And then, yeah, Tyrael, generally, this is what I've heard, you just have to take this talent at 1. Justice for All gives the increased shielding to your allies.
That's incredibly strong. I mean, you have the support from Karazim, but you've got a pseudo support from Tyrael, and oh, by the way, you probably have another form of potential support in Abathur. So, you know, there's a lot of survivability for a dive-style composition. And also the shielding, as we see up in the top lane, allows you to go in and do things like that. You know that you can kind of go in, you can take an extra shot or two, rotate those out, get a little bit of structure damage in, but good recognition from LFM to send Genji up to make sure and thwart any type of assault.
Team Freedom were hoping that they could get some early structure damage done, as they did on Skye, to push their experience forward. Try to level up that Abathur and the rest of the team with such big heroic abilities. Tormented Souls, Sanctification most likely, especially looking at the rest of the composition for Freedom. The LFM are responding in kind and really well. Sending people where they need, trying to get some early camps. They'll get the camp down in the bottom. See if they can get any more push done with this to try to counter Team Freedom in that top lane.
Greymane Karazim as they go in here, diving underneath minions. It's a scary prospect. The minute the minions go down, you put the shields up because you know you're going to have that. So the timing on Zugrug, making sure that he's getting as much value. You can see he's also eating all those shots, allowing Lutano to stay on there. Gilly, Zugrug is continuing to impress me more and more each week. It's small things like that. Everybody's like, oh, that's easy. But it's the precision that they do it. It's the timing that they do it. It's so flawless.
And the consistency. When you see those adjustments, you see that improvement, they continue to exhibit that week to week. Team Freedom has always been one of the fastest improving teams within HGC, and that's because of their environment, but their practice habits too. They practice really hard. Unfortunately for them, they're going to lose Abathur as LFM dive deep to get that Abathur kill. Nasmus will trade out with the Cassia. And on the top of that Cassia, I really like the build that we're seeing her go into, as well as just the pick of Cassia. Because when Team Freedom decides to go, if they don't get that Sanctification down, you're looking at a full, just melee-centric once Greymane jumps in. And there's a lot you can do with charge strikes and the ball lightning potentially too.
I wonder if Freedom just comes into all of their drafts and like, look, let's find some way. We know Greymane does well. Let's just kind of find somebody that can go in, whether it's ETC or Tyrael. Let's just wreck some structures. Like every single game, they have used the same style of strategy of just having control over structures based around Greymane in this series. It doesn't have to be Greymane. It's just the way that they're executing right now heavily revolves around that.
LFM rotate really fast to the Immortal, and that lets them keep up. Now they're looking for a fight, though. They know that with that Greymane, they can do a lot of damage to an Immortal. So they're hoping that they can get the fight in, having everyone back up. Do some good damage to Zugrug. And that's forcing Team Freedom with a slightly slower rotation to get on this Immortal. They're going to put the Aware on the back as the Rhaegar. He's going to be found, though, by Nasmus.
That's a scary prospect, too, because with an Abathur hat, it's not a safe spot to be. Swabs with a nice stun there will buy his team enough time to get a bit more structure damage in. Nice play there by Swabs. They've got a 3,300 shield. You know, this is something last year, Gilly, Team Expert, whenever it was a 50% or less shield on the first Immortal, they would just go to another lane. And there's a lot of teams in North America that haven't quite picked up on that. They would hide their solo laner. They would hide all 5 members. The minute somebody would show, they would hard push that in. It's something that I'd like to see Team Freedom kind of adapt to, but right now with this split here, I'm not sure we're going to see much out of this first Immortal.
Yeah, LFM were trying to push that bottom, but very fast response from Team Freedom to try to make sure that they got their Shaman camp. That's going to push that bottom lane. A 1-for-1 trade as Cassia and Karazim both go down.
The trade there.
Yoda's going to go away from this situation. Now Nasmus is coming up. With that Abathur hat, has found a target and Draded. Just doing enough to scare away LFM so they can clear out this Immortal fast without taking any further damage.
My favorite part about Figgy's build is that, look, it's full melee. It is full melee. A lot of times you'll see people pick Beta Barbs to try and slow down that melee coming at you. Instead, you went the alternative of the further range on his burrow charge, and he has used that in full defensive mode. It's like, look, I got to nope out of here. I'm just going to make sure I can nope out quite a bit further. So it seems more of a safety pick as opposed to a we're going to just kind of hold you in place pick.
Now, if you aren't too familiar with the new Tyrael build, Stalwart Angel for some armor, while Eldarin's Might is active, but the level 7 is what synergizes so well with what Team Freedom has. Swift Retribution not only is going to give more movement speed off of Smite, but 2 seconds of 25% attack speed. And you look at the composition that Freedom has, that benefits just about everybody. It does. It benefits everybody that Team Freedom has. It's an insanely synergistic talent there at level 7. There's some different options there, but that's going to be really beneficial now for Team Freedom, as well as the Sanctification, but LFM hoping that they can get a team fight in before that hits.
Looking for it, unable to capitalize too much, but they've thwarted the assault. The one thing that will be interesting will be T. His role is getting that blind down, recognizing that smite, and you know, it sometimes could be the unfamiliarity factor, is that I'm sure they've scrimmed against new Tyrael, but how much? How quickly are you to hit those buttons? How aware are you to make sure and time those things appropriately? It's a newer thing. You know, they're prepared, but all it takes is like 1/2 second to be off on something, and it can be a totally different story.
Yeah, the blinds will be crucial for that. The control that Blaze can give to, and a new Barak, lots of stun lock between the two to slow that down when it happens.
Level 10 is almost here. They haven't confirmed it yet, is LFM, but the threat of it being so close is allowing them to get a push, and given the positioning of the Immortals, that's a really good play by LFM.
They'll take full advantage. Freedom had to push a lane to catch up. And they're going to go into defensive mode until they can get heroics.
Blaze waiting. There's no hard CC. No stuns on the side of Team Freedom.
There it is. Tormented Souls. The ball lightning comes out to counter from that. Swift strike in from Draded as he hits the back line. Sanctification going down, keeps Team Freedom alive for now, but Draded was waiting until that was done. Combustion hits Zubrig in trouble as he sliced through from Draded. Draded goes back, great pong from Collusion, keeps him alive for now. T goes down.
T goes down, Figgy with that burrow charge out, he's low, he gets the impale in return to keep himself alive as the cocktail not able to do enough damage. But the damage, however, was done by Team Freedom as one member went down for LFM. They're going to turn their attention over to the Immortal.
They desperately needed that because they had fallen behind slightly in the race to 10. Enough that LFM won't have to deal with a very heavily shielded Immortal should Team Freedom claim this. Freedom are pretty low. They're low in a lot of resources and mana and health. It's taking them some time to heal back out. And with Cassia coming back up quite quickly, the respawn timers seem to be favoring LFM more as they're going to be able to get this Immortal.
Yeah, things definitely working out. Ball lightning goes out just to kind of thwart them off a little bit. I'll get a few Globes here, but this is 2 for 2 in terms of Immortals. They didn't get a whole lot done the first go-round. There was a trade 1 for 1 in kills. See if they can get themselves a fort here, and if they can execute. They're really behind on heroics. I don't think we'll see much, but maybe they can make a playoff cocoon.
The big deal was Draded harassing in the back, forcing the Sanctification, staying very patient with his Dragon Blade until that was done. They did end up losing Cassia after the end, but you can see if Blaze is able to channel his combustion for a while, that slow mixed with the Dragon Blade is going to be very tough, especially because Team Freedom, again, has so many melee that they're going to be grouping up. And that Ball Lightning plus those 2 heroic abilities, LFM has the possibility to wipe Team Freedom with this comp.
Tormented Souls as a zoning tool there. LFM. See, this is something where Team Freedom, they'd probably find a way to rotate bottom. Instead, LFM is actually like, what if we rotate over and look for a fight? They're looking to force because the clone is down.
Tormented is down.
Yeah, Tormented is down and the clone is down. So they just walk right in. They're like, I'm taking this.
Shaman stolen. Keeping an eye, too, to who's going to defend versus this.
They're really getting a lot out of this second Immortal. You know, they looked for a potential flank, but they're going to get themselves 2 forts, a little bit of keep damage up at the top, keep wall damage. Gives them it caught them up in experience against the Abathur, but it gives them a slight advantage in terms of overall control in this map right now.
Yeah, Freedom are limited in their retreat points. Now relying on that mid well, should they need to restock. We're going to keep Mercenary Camp in the bottom. When is their Shaman up? 5 seconds, they'll be able to get that. They're looking at the top one too, but that minion wave from Abathur, they're pretty pushed.
One of the things that I'd like to see kind of adapt in the future, if they're going to run an Abathur style onto Battlefield of Eternity, what we've seen historically is to have those mines positioned across the middle part of the map to catch rotations, so to look for advantages elsewhere. As it stands, it's kind of been a beacon on terms of camps, things like that. We see one finally here, but I remember watching one of the Chinese teams about 2 years ago, and it was just this zigzag pattern to cover all available channels in that middle part of the map. You get an eye on their rotations, you can try and make something off of that. As it stands, it's just kind of been few and far between. So I'd like to see a little bit more priority on that maybe in the future. This game, obviously, you know, probably not going to make that happen right now, but...
Well, Figgy's doing his best to slow down Team Freedom again, while the teams trade out about halfway. But Freedom got a little bit more done this time than LFM did. Looking at what we see, Thunder God's Vigor, the cooldown reduction for Lightning Fury makes me think maybe we're going to see the Grounding Bolt, the slow at 16. But there's a lot of ways of being able to proc Martial Law, so I would like to see T go into that, be able to do more damage with that. T is getting chased down as Greymane goes in.
Figgy came up short on that burrow charge. I'm not sure if it was intentional or not, but he didn't get under the wall. And that's Yoda. The clone is out again, and they were unsuccessful in really making anything happen off that. They're going to turn their attention, maybe defend here. The Ball Lightning is out right now. They're very far forward in how they're approaching this.
Yeah, they're also way split as Draded finds a Nasmus. The rest of the team goes in. Collusion hits a Money Palm again, but a Sanctification has to be used as Team Freedom are doing their best to reconvene together. They take out Rhaegar. Draded still trying to bring down somebody. Looks like he should be able to get the Collusion kill. Collusion has one final heal, turns around for the punches. Collusion goes down, support for support. The cooldown timer is going to favor LFM. They're chasing and Nasmus down as Draded finds him for the kill.
Look, you guys go over there. I got this. That's style points right there. LFM, Immortal number 3 now, as they've taken control. That top keep in the middle of a lot of this has taken a lot of damage. Mule was picked up. They're going to turn. This is a really good call by LFM. A lot of times, again, you want to push with the Immortal, but rotate in, use Blaze or Abathur, or excuse me, Anubarak, to soak those shots, go in, finish the keep, and then rotate down, see what more you can get done with the Immortal. Really heads-up play here by LFM.
Team Freedom are doing what they can to push back LFM, but the keep was already grabbed. But using the time before 16 is hit by LFM to get back into this game. This is the point. This is the fight they need to take. They're going to leave the Immortal to push in the bottom, so desperate to get kills. Swabs receives an Ancestral. Team Freedom has to back off, and now that Immortal has been pushing in the bottom lane this entire time.
the Aware held that Ancestral for so long. I'm like on the edge of my seat, like, is he going to use it? When's he going to use it? Okay, we got a couple people low. Good timing, but enough time. Had he used that early, it would be an early disengage by Team Freedom. And as you pointed out, that Immortal was pushing. So heads up play by the Aware to hold that until the last moment. Get as much value as you can out of that push. Get back. They got themselves a keep and a keep wall. Things are looking good right now for LFM.
Jay, how are you surprised to not see Holy Ground? Because I'm pretty surprised.
Yeah, I mean, bomb. You got Law and Order going on here.
I was like, what is that sound?
Bomb. Oh, we all know that sound.
It is that sound.
With catapults pushing, the Shaman camp that could be picked up by LFM next to the next objective phase. Abathur does okay, but unless you're in a Locust build, he will lose that lane, inevitably lose that lane. We don't see any cooldown reduction at 4 on mines, so it's a tough defense for Freedom.
Yeah, Freedom has their backs against the wall, put there by LFM. But they're 16, and this would be the time to fight if ever. Nasmus gets in on all of LFM. They'll use the Sanctification as they found their target. T, separated from the rest, nearly goes down. They've got the Combustion, but Cassia still falls. That's the first kill. Palm procced, keeps Zugrug alive. Does he have his sword to teleport back to you? They're doing his best to hold him down with all the stun lock. Oh no! LFM also lose their Genji.
Swabs, this is one of those moments where it's, unless you get a trade, it's almost better to die quicker. Because you don't want to, although...
He's trying his best.
Yeah, so now his death is staggered, and we look at the time of the Immortal, it's 10 seconds away. Genji can be back in time, Cassia will be back in time. The only thing that will save them a bit of push will be these catapults in the camp pushing top lane. Although Malthael, I was going to say, he might be sniffing out that camp on the right side, but the longer this phase goes on, the better for LFM, but yeah, things are unraveling here for LFM. They're still in control, but...
The last thing they needed was stagger deaths there, so I'm happy that they went away when they did. The Aware was low, Figgy had burrow charged away on the point initially and then ran out.
Catapults taking down Leoric there. The lone remaining tower. The defense here, LFM has got to be stout in this because they have done no damage to their Immortal.
Figgy chasing down, keeping eyes on. Ware's gonna get knocked back. But Figgy and Draded are making space for LFM to start working on that. They've got the Cocoon out. Tormented Souls yet again as the double Malthael doing their best to take out T. They do just before Ancestral can land this time. Swamp is in the back with the Combustion, while Yoda is keeping the Aware way far away with that clone. But Draded sees a lot of low health bars and is going to start working on taking down some of Freedom. Unfortunately, he just doesn't get it.
He was so close. That swift strike in, he went final cut at 16, ripped through the health bars of Freedom, but good palm by Collusion, getting himself palmed. The rest of the members were grouped up on top of him, so because it's an AoE ability, Draded not able to get that next strike in, afraid to proc the palm, plus the good heal in the shields. And now we've got ourselves about an 80% shielded Immortal for defense for LFM. They still have a fort standing in the way, but at 17 minutes, this is going to be a strong push.
Freedom immediately went back. They needed to make sure that they could heal back up for this push. It is the bottom lane, so it's not going to help alleviate those catapults for Freedom. They have to be decisive in what they want to do now, along with this push. Nasmus goes in from the side. T in danger. Ancestral connects this time. It's only the half. It was reduced from the touch of death, but it's enough to get LFM back in the fight.
Zugrug goes down. They've still got Kerazim in the Cocoon. They're going to get him out of that, but the Malthael self-cleanse started that. Luckily, LFM held on by a clutch shield and Ancestral by the Aware, making good use out of that shield at 13.
Yeah, T surviving was everything. Freedom has been focusing on getting the kill from him, at least reducing the Ancestral if it does go off. The last fight, it didn't even go off. They had the double Malthael on it, and it was just way too much before the Ancestral could save him. But this time, the Aware keeps T alive, and that ensures, especially with that Zugrug kill, that LFM don't lose their keeps. They don't have to deal with an Abathur plus catapults. It just took out that final fort, which does give Freedom experience on the road to 20.
LFM and team looking to extend their dominance so far. They knew that they could potentially get an invade here if they found Freedom. Freedom not willing to risk it. They're going to back off. They'll have to clean that up afterwards. LFM, as long as they pick it up early, it'll be easy to clear up for Freedom, but it can control a rotation or two. Now they're going to instantly move bottom. Maybe look for a fight. I mean, it's almost 20. If they want to try and take a pre-20 fight, it's now. However, I would much rather see them play the experience game and get 20. They're putting their eggs in a basket that is very fragile.
Yeah, let's see if Freedom can keep LFM here until they get that 20. They're sort of baiting it, but not fully going in. Although Nasmus looks pretty aggressive. Yep, he's just about done. He's ready to go in. They do so much. Cassia blown up from Go for the Throat as Team Freedom, one by one, catching LFM out. They got the 20, and they will roll with it all the way through the keep.
That should be game, actually. When you've got Greymane on your team, that's going to rip through the structures. That's 4 members dead. LFM, they could have made the decision, maybe soak that top lane, soak bottom, be prepared for 20. And in a mortal fight, they elected to try and take a pre-20. I'm actually really surprised at that, given that they had the structure control. So LFM taking a bit of a risk, paying off there for Freedom as they seal this 3-0.
Yeah, it was nice to see Freedom have so much faith in their ability to hit 20 if they just got the 1 kill, that they were decisive. Nasmus went in. When Nasmus went in, everyone followed. Lutano was there with the Go for the Throat. Team, no chance of surviving at all. And that was pretty much every fight. It came down to whether or not they could keep T alive with the Ancestrals, with the duo frontline, the Blaze, the control between Anubarak and Blaze. It was cool to see our first Blaze. Unfortunately, no victory for him in NA in the first game. It was still nice to see that Swabs is one of the first to adopt the new hero in.
I do like Cassia in the setup in the sense that it gives you the blinds for such a dive-heavy team. The scary part is that her auto attack range is shorter than most other ranged auto attackers. It's 4 instead of the typical 5.5. Taika's sitting, I think, at 4.5.
Right.
So you're much closer. And he was very aggressive a lot of times. And I think that Freedom eventually was like, guys, we got to take care of this guy. He has given us a headache. And so they collapsed on him in that last fight because he was very far forward the last 2. And that was where all their attention was focused. No way to keep alive through that burst. LFM, though, they lose 0-3, but it didn't really feel like they just... It doesn't feel like a 3-0 series, you know? Like, they played well against the #1 team in North America. That's something to say for yourselves, despite a loss.
Yeah, I feel like, especially in that last game, too, they were very aggressive. They were the ones to take down the first keep. They forced catapults against Team Freedom. It's just that it's Team Freedom, and Team Freedom also is a team who's okay with falling behind and winning fights. And they are the more stalwart, I would say, team fighters of the two, and that's just all the experience that Freedom has had. They have a year on LFM in the HGC, but LFM continues to prove that they're going to be turning some heads if they aren't already. Let's check in with Zugrug now. Zugrug and Team Freedom get a win 3-0 over LFM. Hey Zugrug, congratulations. Did you feel like it would be a 3-0 today? Did you think maybe LFM would get a game off of you guys?
I felt like we would be able to 3-0 them, but we've been 3-1ing most of our series, so I wouldn't be surprised if we dropped 1 match.
Talk to me about new Tyrael. Where do you feel like he fits in the meta, as we saw you play him last game?
I think new Tyrael is similar role as the old Tyrael, but just a little bit stronger.
And we saw you not go for a holy ground. Is that, do you feel like that's always, or it's more situational, depending on composition and what you're playing against?
I think Holy Ground is like based off the comp you're against and also map dependent. Like a map like Curse Hollow where there's bosses and stuff, I think Holy Ground is more valuable.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I'm sure our fans watching will be appreciative of your insight there. Jay, any questions for Zugrug?
Yeah, Zugrug, I can't help but compliment you guys on your macro play. It was a focus for us last week, but it's even more so this week. You guys seem to be on top of rotations a little bit differently than everybody else in North America right now. Was there any other team that you studied, something you picked up from international competition? I mean, is this something that we just didn't see before? Where does this newfound play come from?
I think it's just from playing a lot, practicing a lot together. Like, we didn't really learn it from a specific team or anything, but just picking up small things from every team we play and putting it to use of our own.
You guys have done an incredible job. I think that's pretty much all I got for you. The new Tyrael was kind of my excited part there, and you guys have just continued to impress, man. Sitting at 4-0, it's got to be feeling pretty good. Congratulations, man.
Yeah, thanks.
Zagrug, you have 2 matches next weekend, Space Station, and then you also have the big match versus Team 12. Are you guys feeling confident that you'll be able to win both and sit and stay atop North America?
I mean, the way we're playing right now, I feel confident we can win both of those series.
Well, it's awesome to hear. Good luck to you. Congrats on your win again. And the floor is yours for shout-outs.
Just a shout-out to our analyst, Lex Uther. Shout-out to our sponsors, HyperX and Team Freedom. And shout-out to all of our fans and my teammates for playing really well today.
Shout-outs to you for
Thanks,
joining
guys.
us for the interview. Thanks, Zagrug. 3-0 for Freedom. It was, I wasn't sure what to expect coming in.